Drew Doughty heads home a winner. That and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I worked in sports media for the past 30 years, also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 18 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. The LA Kings are getting ready to take on the Utah Hockey Club on Saturday and start the stretch run towards the playoffs. But before we discuss that, we had the highly anticipated conclusion of the Four Nations face-off between the USA and Canada Thursday night in Boston. I really hope you got a chance to watch at least some of the tournament and especially the championship game. Obviously, our own Drew Doughty involved playing for Team Canada. And I wasn't sure what to expect when the event was first announced. And when it first started, I was hopeful that it would be something positive for hockey, but it turned out to be just a great exhibition for the sport of hockey. And of course, want to focus on that championship game and the game for Drew Doughty of the LA Kings. But he wasn't the only King that was actually involved in the event, as the great one, Wayne Gretzky, was in attendance. He was the honorary captain for Team Canada, came out on the ice before the game, got a well-deserved round of applause, as you would expect from hockey fans anywhere, even though he was representing Canada in this rivalry game. But of course, the focus was on Drew Doughty for us Kings fans. But really, the game itself, a lot of hype. This was the second meeting in the event between the USA and Canada. The first meeting started off with a bang with 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. Obviously, two skilled teams, lots of great stars on each side. But would the game live up to the hype? The answer was yes. It was a 2-2 game going into sudden death overtime. And unfortunately for us Americans, it would be Canada that would come away with the victory. And Connor McDavid scored the overtime game winner for a 2-1 victory. As for Drew Doughty, played well in the game and also played well in the entire event. Ended up playing 20 minutes and 54 seconds. He was a +1 in the game. Had a couple of shots on goal. One of them led to a good scoring chance, although weren't able to convert on that. He took a couple more big hits from Brady Tkachuk of the U.S., who blasted Drew into the boards earlier in the tournament as well. But Drew Doughty bounced right back up each time and seemed to come out of the event maybe a little bit banged up, but otherwise okay. And if you saw the smile on his face when he had his hat turned backwards, the only player had his hat turned backwards, the toothless smile as he got the gold medal around his neck was classic Drew Doughty. I said when Drew Doughty returned from his broken ankle in late January that I wasn't sure if I was the powers that be at Team Canada, if I would pick him to be on the team as an injury replacement, because Shea Theodore had gotten injured. Or excuse me, sorry, Alex Pietrangelo for the Vegas Golden Knights had dropped out of the event. And so that opened up a spot. And so they were considering Drew Doughty, but he didn't look great when he first came back for the Kings. And that's understandable. I mean, he hadn't played all season, but still the point was, did they want a rusty Drew Doughty to be on their team in this high-level event against some of the best players in the entire sport? Now, to Drew Doughty's credit, he did look better later in his comeback before the break with the Kings, and I guess that was enough for Team Canada to decide, okay, he's going to be an asset. Clearly, Drew has a passion to play for his country, and I thought he played very well in the tournament. He looked more like the Drew Doughty we saw in the last couple of games before he went off to join Team Canada. So I think all in all, a good tournament for Drew Doughty. And I think that he should be able to take from this a lot of positives. And I'm expecting him to come back and be playing at a very high level for the LA Kings, playing in that event. I mean, that was if you watched any of the event, It was a very, very high level of hockey. The speed was as fast as you're going to find. He was taking on, some of the top players in the game: Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, Jake Gensel. Some of the stars for the Team USA squad are, some of the better players in the game. And, he was out there and played very, very well. So in all, obviously we were concerned about, the health coming out of it. Okay. And he did take a couple big hits, but all in all, I think that Drew Doughty played very well in the event. I think this is going to be a positive for him and the LA Kings. I think he's going to come back ready to go and looking to help the LA Kings, obviously, down the stretch for the playoff run here. LA Kings insider in front of the show, Zach Dooley, quoted Kings head coach Jim Hiller about what he thought about Drew Doughty's tournament. And this was before the championship game. And Jim Hiller said, quote, "It is really incredible what he's done. Everyone talks about the level of hockey and the intensity, how good it is. And to go there and play in 6 games, to play at that level, I can't even imagine. He continues to just really, really add to his overall resume, which is one of the greatest, the best of his generation," end quote. And that was from Kings head coach Jim Hiller talking about Drew Doughty. And speaking of Drew Doughty's resume, he can now add 4 Nations Face-Off champion to that resume, which already includes a World Cup of Hockey title, 2 Olympic gold medals, a World Junior Championship, and by the way, 2 Stanley Cup titles as well. Drew has collected some pretty serious hardware, both individually and as a team, playing for Team Canada. Of course, it'll all culminate at some point in being in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And I've said that Anze Kopitar is the greatest king of all time, but Drew Doughty deserves to be somewhere in the discussion. He is the greatest Kings defenseman of all time. And as I've said with Anze Kopitar, as Kings fans, we need to appreciate Drew Doughty while he is still wearing that LA Kings sweater. And just a quick note, finally, on the event, the 4 Nations Face-Off. I thought it was great. The hockey was at a very high level. Kudos to the NHL for finally getting NHL players back out there in a best-on-best tournament representing their countries. And major props to the players themselves who played in the event. They played with heart. They played with soul. They played with passion. They made hockey fans proud with the exhibition they put on display. They were the ones who really made the event what it was. As an American, a little bit bummed out that the USA lost, but obviously happy for Drew Doughty, and honestly happy for the sport of hockey. It's not always easy to be a hockey fan for a number of reasons. And sometimes the NHL can be its own worst enemy. But there was an old hockey coach back in the day, Badger Bob Johnson, who used to always say, "It's a great day for hockey." Now, he said it every day, as to just say, it's a great day to play the sport of hockey. But I thought Thursday night was a great night for the sport of hockey. A lot of eyes that normally aren't watching hockey were watching, and they were treated to a high-level game with a lot of intensity, highly skilled, passionate. The players really put it all out there on the ice, and they really delivered. They put on a great display of hockey for all fans, hockey fans, and maybe just sports fans who were kind of curious and wanted to check it out. So great event, great game. It was a great night for hockey, and really great for the sport. And that was, even though a little disappointed that the USA didn't win, overall, a great event, a great game, and again, just a great exhibition of hockey. Good for the sport. All right, well, now the 4 Nations Face-Off is in the history books, so we now get ready for the LA Kings to get back on the ice. We'll talk about that and more here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Well, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. It is the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days. Whether you're snacking at your desk or on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost, if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, so the Four Nations face-off is over, and it is almost time to get back to work for the LA Kings. Of course, most of the players have been back at practice for a couple of days. They did have Thursday off. They practiced Wednesday. They're going to practice on Friday, and then they will play on Saturday. To refresh your memory, since it has been 12 days since we saw the LA Kings in action, Kings will be playing 19 of their final 29 games on home ice, and that includes the first 3 games back from the break. Saturday against the Utah Hockey Club, Monday against Las Vegas, and Wednesday against Vancouver. And those last 2 games in particular are potentially big games right out of the break. Kings are in 3rd place in the Pacific Division, where they've been most of the season. Right now, that would put them in an automatic playoff spot, and they would face the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But there is still a lot to be decided. The Kings sit 7 points back of the Golden Knights for second in the division and what would be home ice in a potential first-round matchup. But the Kings have played 3 fewer games than Vegas, so there is the opportunity for the Kings to make up some ground on the Golden Knights. Now, the Kings will face Vegas 2 more times head-to-head. Those will obviously be big games. Talked about it next Monday at home. And then on March 9th, the final game will be in Sin City. That's who the Kings are chasing. As for who the Kings are looking to hold off, LA sits just 2 points up on Vancouver. The Canucks hold the final wildcard spot in the West and 5 points up on the Calgary Flames, who are the first team on the outside looking in at a playoff spot in the Western Conference. The Kings will face the Canucks just one more time. That's hosting them next Wednesday. And then they'll face the Flames also one more time. That's the regular season finale, April the 17th. That's the makeup game of the game that was postponed after the fires here in Los Angeles. We also have the trade deadline coming up just 15 days away. It'll be interesting to see now that the Four Nations face-off is over. And even though there wasn't a trade freeze during that time, I think the NHL probably asked all the teams, look, we're all focused on this event. Let's keep the focus there. Don't announce any trades during the break. And we didn't have any trades during the break. So I wouldn't be surprised if things start getting heated up here in the next couple of days as far as some trades being announced. But the Kings are expected to be buyers at the deadline. And we've talked about some of the players that they might be looking at, specific names. But it is almost certain the Kings are looking for a player to help them offensively and hopefully to help them on the power play. Now, if the Kings don't pick up anyone to help them on that power play, I'll be very curious to see if it's possible for the Kings to improve that aspect of their game before the playoffs, thanks to being on home ice for the majority of their games going forward. So the Kings, again, 19 of 29 games on home ice. It was talked about a little bit before the break when mentioning the Kings power play, but overall, the Kings are ranked 29th in the NHL with a man advantage at 14.6%. That's pretty bad. On the road, the Kings are dead last in the NHL, 32 out of 32 teams. They are 11% on the road. However, at home, the Kings are okay on the power play, 20.4%. That's tied for 16th. So around middle of the pack. So at least the Kings are okay. And as I've said, they don't have to be great on the power play. It would be nice, of course. But if they could at least be just okay with the way their defense has been, with the way their goaltending has been, that could be enough. So again, the Kings on home ice are okay. Can they use those final 19 home games to get that power play more on track because of all the home games. We'll see. It would help if they could add somebody as well. But again, if they don't, at least all those home games maybe can get that power play going at a better clip once they do get into the playoffs. Also, the Kings have played the fewest number of games in the NHL to this point, 53. So they will be relatively busy the rest of the way as well. As for the health of the Kings, pretty healthy. Mentioned it the other day, defenseman Mikey Anderson coming back from that puck to the hand, puck to the finger injury, put on injured reserve, but he's back at practice, full participant, no red non-contact jersey, and it is expected he will be taken off injured reserve and be in the lineup for that first game back against Utah on Saturday. Darcy Kemper, the Kings' standout netminder this year, missed the Kings' final game before the break against the Ducks, away from the team for personal reasons. He is expected to be ready to go for that first game back on Saturday as well, and hopefully he can continue his fine season returning to the Kings this year. All in all, the Kings are pretty healthy, and obviously most of the team is rested, except for Drew Doughty and Adrian Kempe. Sure that Kempe will be back at practice on Friday. I'm guessing Drew Doughty will not be. I'm guessing they're going to give him some little time off. I'm sure Drew's also possibly doing a little celebrating as well and might need an extra day to rest up. But if you're wondering, would Jim Hiller give Drew Doughty maybe that first game back off, considering all the games he's played lately and the high level of games played? I'd be surprised if that happens, just because of Drew Doughty. He loves to play the game. He doesn't want any time off. And of course, he's had all season off before the Four Nations for the most part because of the broken ankle. So he should be, relatively rested. I'm sure that playing at that high level in the Four Nations, that was a pretty, big baptism by fire for him to get back into that high level of play. I mentioned he took some pretty big hits, but like I said, Drew wants to play, and I think Jim Hiller wants him back in the lineup. So I would not be surprised one bit if Drew Doughty is in the Kings lineup on Saturday. Maybe they give him a game off, maybe with those two big games coming up against Vegas and Vancouver. But again, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Drew's in the lineup on Saturday and playing 25 minutes for the Kings. But we'll see. We'll see if he does. So it'll be good to have the Kings back in action. We are getting ready for the stretch run of the playoffs. Obviously, the trade deadline coming up is going to be a big storyline going forward as well. But this is the time where all these teams, now they've also gotten a rest, it's time to take it up another notch. Nobody wants to just flip a switch once they get to playoff time. It's now building up to a crescendo. You want to be playing your best hockey at the right time, and it starts for the LA Kings on Saturday against the Utah Hockey Club. All right, hopefully the Kings can get a winning streak going and have success as they go down the stretch here. The Ontario Reign are doing just that. We'll give you a rain report here next on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. The NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place a $5 bet throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can always combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. FanDuel's live betting feature keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether you're backing your team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet $150, or should say they can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Again, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, the Ontario Reign continue to roll as they pick up a 6-4 win over the Barracuda in San Jose. That was Wednesday night. Reign jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the first period on goals from Martin Chromiak, his 10th, Atu Yemsen, his 4th, and Tyler Madden, his 8th. Second period, Yemsen made it 4-0 with his 5th goal of the season and his 2nd of the game. First multi-goal game of Atu Yemsen's pro career, so congrats to him on that. Now, the Barracuda would get the next goal to make it 4-1, but the Reign responded with a pair of goals, one from Taylor Ward, his 9th, and the other from Jeff Malott, his 17th. And Ontario had a comfortable 6-1 lead going into the third period. San Jose would stage a little bit of a comeback attempt. They would score 3 times in the third period, 2 of them on the power play. But in the end, Ontario holds on for the 6-4 victory. Charles Hudon had a 4-assist game. That's his first career 4-assist game. Phoenix Copley gets the win in net, allowing 4 goals on 36 shots. Phoenix improving to 15-7-2 on the season. As for the Reign, now 30-14-3 on the season for 63 points. They are the first team in the Western Conference to reach 30 wins, and those 63 points have them tied with the Calgary Wranglers for first place in the Pacific Division. However, the Reign have 1 more regulation win, 1 fewer regulation loss, and they've played 2 fewer games than Calgary. So it's not a stretch to say the Ontario Reign are in reality the top team in the Pacific Division. Those 63 points are also good enough to be the 4th most in the entire American Hockey League. Reign also wrap up a 3-game road trip with a perfect 3-0 record. On the road this season, Ontario 16-5-1. That is the best road record of any team in the Western Conference in the AHL. Ontario, though, will be back home in their next game. It'll be a rematch against the San Jose Barracuda coming up on Saturday night. So we're getting ready for the Kings to return. The Reign playing some good hockey. A good time to be a Kings fan. All right, for you everydayers, those of you that listen to watch Locked On the Kings every day, Friday is our weekly Kings fan feedback show. It is your chance as a Kings fan to sound off on whatever is on your mind. If you want to send an email for that show, it is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. And you can always leave your comments if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section. I am attempting to do a better job of interacting with you guys on the YouTube episodes. I hope you've noticed that, and I do appreciate all the content there. Definitely going to be sharing some of your posts on the YouTube comment section in our Friday fan feedback show going forward. Also, if you want to stay interactive with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, we are at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you, as always, for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you on Friday. And as always, go Kings, go.